Code Sports NRL Rundown. It's Magic Round edition. Michael Carayannis, you'd be pretty happy about Magic Round?
Sure. Why?
Well, I don't know. Thought you'd be excited.
I'm always excited for a weekend of footy, but we're not there, so my excitement's tempered.
Well, the team that is there is Dave's Cronulla Sharks, but mate,
there's lots of teams that are there.
They've been dudded.
Yeah. They've been dudded. Well, they're coming up against your Eels, Mobsy. So, look, I know what you're referencing, and it was actually, to your credit, you highlighted this yourself, and it is the short turnaround from being the last game of the weekend against the West Tigers in that Golden Point thriller and being the first cab off the rank in Magic Round at 6 o'clock on Friday night against a team coming off the bye.
10-day break.
10-day break. If you even go a little bit further, we'll come back to this game. Go a little bit further who the Sharks play next week. They play Manly. Manly have the bye this week.
Off the back of all their travel that they did earlier in the year.
And what we do know about the Sharks is they were one of the Vegas teams, and since then they've gone to Townsville, Canberra, Perth, Leichhardt last week, Newcastle, and now Brisbane. It's going to be a very tough task for this Sharks side to find the energy against a Parramatta side with the kicking game of Mitch Moses. I'm certain they can win, but they're in a very, very tough spot with the amount of travel and the draw they've been exposed to.
The good news is, Mobsy, they've had a pretty soft draw for the last few years, so it's caught up on them.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
Wow.
You're kidding.
Oh wow.
But no, it is hard, and
Sure,
they battled COVID and sickness and stuff like that, right? The Sharks. So
a few injuries creeping into the team as well.
It's a battle for them just to sort of stay afloat, and I don't know how affected they'll be by Origin.
I don't think they'll be affected at all.
So that's going to be a massive bonus for them. Where hopefully by that stage, where other sides are struggling and battling around that period, they might be able to cash in a little bit.
What do you mean? Hopefully, other teams are struggling.
Well, like for them, I'm saying from their point of view, right? Because they have copped it early.
Yeah, they have.
From what I understand is this week, their week consisted of one training session in preparation for Parramatta. They fly to Brisbane today, being Thursday, and get on the field. And maybe that's the perfect response they need after a pretty disappointing performance, with the opportunity to win that game about 6 to 7 times against the Tigers. The best way to respond is to get back out there. So,
but it's just a little case study in something you've done over at Code Sports on the draw itself, and just it's
lopsided.
Isn't it?
It's incredibly lopsided, and the NRL acknowledged that it needs to be better. And in the future, we'll see AI technology become involved in the formation of the draw once we get Perth involved. But it's simply lopsided. The amount of travel some teams do compared to other teams is extraordinary. The Bulldogs have got a terrific draw this year, not leaving New South Wales. Leaving New South Wales only a handful of times.
For the first time last week.
Yep.
And got trounced.
And Brisbane's another great example, hardly leaving Suncorp. And you've got the Raiders, the Sharks. Manly, Anthony Sebo highlighted this. 3 games in 11 days.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, in a competition that is so physically taxing, how one team can cop it so much more severe than another, it's unfair. 3
games in 11 days is crazy. It is. It shouldn't be happening. I know, like, the travel and the things like that, it's hard to manoeuvre because there's never going to be a fair draw unless you play everyone twice home and away, which is never going to happen again, right? So
never happen.
It's not going to happen. Even if you play everyone once, teams are still going to travel more than others and stuff like that. So unless you play everyone twice, we're never going to have a fully fair draw. But you shouldn't be playing 3 games in 11 days.
Well, at least they gave the Broncos and Dolphins the away games for Magic Round Suncorp this weekend. Far out. You talk about draw. Look, team I want to talk about, the Newcastle Knights. Can they get a win against an injury and suspension ravaged South Sydney?
Well, if they can't, like if this is not their chance, when? Like, it's been a tough year for the Knights, attack wise. And the Rabbitohs have lost so much influence in their spine and in their leadership now. Jack Whiten gone for 4 weeks, guys, with a calf injury.
Big loss.
And so Lewis Dodd gets his opportunity against a Knights side that are just so desperate.
You only needed 5 other people to drop off. Because have a look at this. South halves pecking order. Cody Walker, Jamie Humphries, Jai Gray, Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten, Lewis Dodd, 6th in order, Mick. What's going on? Jaden Sullivan.
You know.
7.
There's lots to unpack in this game. Firstly, to Dave's point, Newcastle, like, they obviously have struggled for points. They've struggled for go forward. They're probably the best side they've been able to put on paper this year is this weekend, right, with all those forwards back. And so, you know, that helps them. But, yeah, they need to win this game, Newcastle, against the depleted South Sydney side. And then you look at, you know, on the flip side, you look at South and you look at what Lewis Dodd's going to do. All eyes will be on him. It is strange to see, you know, probably wasn't strange to see him overlooked for the start of the season because he had a shoulder injury and then that suspension, so he was ineligible for week 1. And Jamie Humphries killed it. And then, you know, all right, then Jaden Sullivan has started well with Cody Walker. So, okay, so I get it. But now I was shocked that they didn't name him this weekend to start. So let's hope he goes and puts in a performance that can keep his spot, because he's under a lot of scrutiny for a kid that's, you know, out here on big money with big expectations.
The big thing for the Knights is something you just mentioned in relation to Cronulla, and it's how the Knights get through the origin period, because they will be without Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
Who we know in this game against South Sydney will be the man that the Knights will be looking to turn it on at Magic Round.
Yeah.
KP. And if they don't start banking wins now with him, it doesn't augur well for when he is out due to Origin.
They have to win. They have to win Newcastle, and, you know, Ponga and Sharp and even Bradford Best, they're front foot players, right? Like Sharp and Ponga particularly. They just haven't had the forwards to get them on the front foot, the Newcastle Knights, because they, you know, the long injury toll that they've had, and, you know, Leo Thompson's been basically trying to carry that forward pack on his own to start the year. So I think that helps. Fifita back, Elliott back. That will give them some go forward that they haven't had, and they're going to need that so they can have Sharp and Ponga hopefully playing off the front foot.
Do you think they'll lose potentially Bradman Best to Origin, or you don't think he's in the running?
I think he's in the running.
Definitely in the running.
But Newcastle's poor start to the season is going to hurt him. He's had cracking performances when he's played for New South Wales in the past. So yeah,
he was great last series.
He's definitely in the running, but his spot may depend on Tom Trbojevic, Latrell.
Yep.
You know, Stephen Crichton will be there. So there are some things to play out. But yeah, he's definitely in the running. But they need to find some points.
Yep.
On the Origin front, who's your New South Wales Blues fullback?
Oh, it's a great debate because due to the current form of the Penrith Panthers, Dylan Edwards is suddenly under some scrutiny. Look, for me, I would stick with Edwards. And I think in that environment, elite players play to an elite level. And that's what Edwards does. You put him in the environment and he'll maintain his high standard of football. In saying that, should they go Tedesco, well, I wouldn't be shocked. Like, Teddy's just flying at the moment. But for me, I would stick with Dylan Edwards.
Yeah, it's probably been the same sort of debate the last at least 2 seasons. And, like, I would pick James Tedesco. I just think he's in outstanding form. And, you know, Dylan Edwards been okay, but he hasn't, you know, he's been slow to find his feet. Like, look at the Penrith side. So, but
I do remember what Edwards did in last year's Origin series. When he came back from injury, Teddy got his chance. Teddy didn't play bad at all.
He was okay. He was okay, Teddy, in the game 1, yeah.
He wasn't horrible.
It wasn't horrible, no. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say they have to pick James Tedesco, because if they pick Dylan Edwards, I'll be like, sweet. Like, I'm not, you know, going to die on this hill. But I would lean towards Tedesco just because he's been in scintillating form.
Well, Blues coach Laurie Daly says that if I'm picking, I'm going to pick on form. So where does that put Ryan Pappenhausen?
Yeah, he's close
He's
too.
been great.
Yeah, he's close
been sensational.
too. And he's been in and around that New South Wales squad. You know, injuries have cruelled him from playing, making his debut. But
geez, it would be a huge call to go Pappenhausen over Edwards and Tedesco.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That's a monster call for Loz.
Yeah. He's got a couple of big ones, mate. But if not now for Pappenhausen, when? When does he play Origin? Because obviously injury curtailed him a couple of years ago. The Blues under Madge seemed to move on from Teddy last year. You could argue that Edwards isn't in the greatest of form this year. I think he's playing okay, but, you know, it's tough in that Penrith side. But Pappenhausen's just such a freak at the moment.
And he was close to a bench spot for a couple of years as well, at the very least, because obviously Tedesco was going to be the fullback, and that versatility that he offers in that, and he's done that job in Melbourne going years back, but he's lost it. Like Connor Watson offers more as a 14 now, and Tyron Wishart, those sort of players. So I think it's either start or nothing for Pappenhausen now, where a few years ago, the way the game was played, you probably would have carried him, or they were going to carry him at some stage on the bench. But I just think that the way Teddy's playing, he's just...
There's been plenty of great players that have had to bide their time. I mean, Dylan Edwards is one of them. He's had to wait behind Teddy for
28, 29.
Right, to Origins.
So Paps just might have to wait his time.
Oh, righto. Something to watch out for this weekend. I need your sin bin predictions.
Oh, wow.
I need a number.
So what did we have last week?
We had 18, for a bit of context, we had 18 last round.
Yeah.
We had 18 in the first 5 rounds.
Yep.
Andrew Abdo's obviously come out this week and said there's probably been an overcorrection, and so they're going to look at that. Give me a number.
I'll go 6.
Oh, I was going to say 6.
Really?
Wow.
So I'll go 7.
Yeah, right. I did not know that.
I was going to go 6, yeah.
Why so few?
Oh, they'll come back.
They won't want frenzy last week.
They won't want to ruin Magic Round.
They did miss some last week.
They won't want to? Done it before.
No. Well,
they started early this year, so they got ahead of the Magic Round curve. Yeah, I'm going to... What are you saying, Mobsy? Half that? Half that number?
Yeah. It's funny because... I'm worried about the ground at Magic Round as well. If players are slipping, there's propensity for high shots. So
what are you saying?
Well, I'd have it at 8. I'd have it at 8. I don't think there's going to be...
6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
I've had 8 text messages from Trumpet.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what I've had of 8 of. Today. Only today.
How are they going to guarantee 3% home loans? What about the iron ore tax?
Iron ore tax.
Oh, can they... I can't wait for this...
Where's Trumpet? Trumpet, leave me alone.
Can't wait for the election to be gone. I didn't know this. You're an election hound.
Love it.
Oh, he loves a worm.
I love it. I just love news, right? Don't you guys love news? I love news,
Teal.
Right? So Teal. No Teal's in my hood.
Who's your bellwether seat?
Nah. Like, I just love... I'll sit there.
Eden Monero?
I love...
So earlier today, at the top of the show, Mobsy said, no one more excited about Magic Round than Mick. Did you see his response?
Yeah,
he forgot it was on. Because the election is on and he's an election hound.
Well, the last state election, I sort of had got the ABC boys to switch the game. We were supposed to do the 7:30 game.
Here it is.
So we could do the 3 p.m. game so I could get home and watch the election.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
It's a lot harder now with a 2-year-old. I don't even know if I can watch football these days.
Off the top of my head, I don't know which one is the 5:30 Saturday game in Magic Round. However, you will not be watching that game.
No, of course I will. No. In an ideal world, but my household doesn't operate in an ideal world at the moment, I'd have the footy on the big screen and I'd have the iPad out with the election coverage.
Saturday, 5:30 p.m, Warriors Cowboys. You are 1,000,000 to 1.
No, I've got some very important Warriors fantasy players.
Do you? Right. Hey, which I want to move straight into that. Leka Halasima.
Oh, yeah.
This kid is really impressing. And you talk to the people over at the Warriors and they're saying we're just scratching the surface of what this kid's capable of.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw that try against the Tigers a few weeks ago, which just opened people's eyes. But this little production line of forwards have got coming through, and you take on the Warriors, given how bad they were at Magic Round.
At Vegas,
Vegas.
Horrific. They were so bad in Vegas.
They were so bad.
Yeah. And they were so bad against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago. They had a good time, yeah. They were so bad against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago as well. But I think that stems in from an inexperienced halves pairing that haven't played a lot of first grade and haven't played a lot of first grade together, and then into those young rising forwards who aren't going to find that level of consistency that they need. But there is tremendous upside in this Warriors side, and one of the unsung players of the competition at the moment is Wade Egan. And he looks fit. Like the problem with Wade, towards the back end of the last few years, he looks battered. But he's looking free and stuff like that. So they're just sneaking along quietly. The Warriors.
Let's go, boys. We're rock tough out that way. So
he might be.
How dare you?
Aaron Clark's been a great buy for them.
Great sign.
He's been terrific.
Good.
You talked to the Warriors for the last 3 to 4 years. The name of Leka Halasima has been the one name that just keeps coming back to us for the last 3 or 4 years, and to the point of which when they released Zion Maiu earlier this year to the Bulldogs, Warriors fans were up in arms. How could you do this? We love the look of Zion. Well, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
They knew what that was coming through.
And he's not alone, apparently. They got a couple.
Yeah.
All those rising forwards that they just, as you said, Mobs, they don't know how good they can be yet.
Yeah. Have a look at the Harold Matts team as well. There's a young fullback there just lighting things up. They're just starting to really get that production line going, which could bode really well for them. Another young kid I want to talk about, Lycan King Tongia.
Yeah, gets his opportunity, Mobsy. I mean, he's played a couple of games last year.
Back end of last year.
Yeah. Look, talking to the Dragons coaching staff about Lycan, they're excited to see his running game. He doesn't mind taking the line on Lycan, so and that's something that they wanted Lachlan Ilias to do more of, and it just wasn't forthcoming. And so Lycan, he's got a lot of confidence. And has been playing very well in the New South Wales Cup. He's a strong defender as well, which is certainly something that Ilias has been spotlighted for as far as his relegation to reserve grade. What about Lachlan Ilias? He goes from the potential of playing in front of 45,000 at Magic Round to Lidcombe Oval on Sunday in front of about 500 people.
Tough sell.
To get his career back on track.
Yeah, tough sell.
In the New South Wales Cup.
If it's good enough for Lockie Galvin, mate, it's good enough for Lockie Ilias.
Well, that's right.
It's
Curse to the Lockies, eh?
Yeah. Queenslander?
Yep.
Jeez. Yep. Okay.
Played his junior footy with Dalby.
Okay.
Yep. Dalby Devils, maybe. I might be wrong there, but he's a very good talent.
Just re-signed. Newcastle are in for him, so I think the Dragons definitely need some spark. They need some speed, and that's probably the criticism of the Dragons so far, is just a lack of running threats. To Dave's point, with Kyle Flanagan's always in the game, right? You see him with the ball. He's always supporting. He's always pushing up. He's always the one leading the kick chase. He's doing all those effort areas, but what he does lack is speed, right? And this is what the Dragons, and that's why they brought Daniel Atkinson, who's going to provide a bit of spark, I guess, next year in the halves. But Lycan gets an opportunity now to hopefully just kickstart that Dragons attack a bit.
Yeah. What do the Gold Coast Titans have to do this weekend? Well, I know what they have to do. They have to show us a bit of grit and resilience. But Des Hasler, the deflector, at his ultimate best this week. What's your take on
Travis
that?
May, outstanding. Very amusing when he listened to Des rant for whatever, and then Travis like, well, what, you're not trying to deflect from your 4 straight losses or whatever it is, and Des like, no, you said that. He goes, no, I didn't. I was just asking. It was Trav on fire there, but classic Des.
I don't think coming out and changing all this now, moving the goalposts, I think it's not being honest with the integrity of the game.
Are you deflecting though after 4 losses and a couple of?
Oh no, we'll take full responsibility of the 4 losses. So don't say that. I never said that. You said that.
No, I said, are you?
No.
Who does he think he's fooling? Or does he just like playing the mind game?
Yeah,
a bit of it.
I've got concerns for the Titans, and I can't get my head around their roster management. Like AJ Brimson's on around $800,000, and I think the overwhelming belief is he's shown his best football at fullback, and that's big money, of which you would pay a decent fullback, but he's not playing there. They've got clearly got injury with Kieran Foran, their experienced half on the sideline. That's a problem. They need to sort this David Fifita situation out. I think it's been an unmitigated disaster, this $1 million signing of a back rower who can only touch the ball when the attack is set up for him to touch the ball. At his best, he's devastating. At his worst, he's non-existent. And we see him demoted from this team by Des Hasler. And it's almost a realisation, Des, of what Billy Slater saw in last year's Origin series by overlooking Dave Fifita for the entire series. This isn't some shock. Yeah. Billy Slater saw it 12 months ago, that he's not that elite level back rower that can play at an Origin level, yet the Titans have invested $1 million into this player, of which I said, I think it's just been an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah, hard to argue with Dave's point. Obviously, last year the Roosters and Penrith were in for him. He committed to the Roosters and then backflip, but yeah, not my style of player.
So he's available on the open market from November 1. He's off contract at the Titans at the end of 2026. So it's going to be fascinating to see, one, do the Titans attempt to re-sign him at the same figure, at a lesser figure, or do they let him go to market?
You can't keep him on the same figure.
No way in the world.
But that's the hard thing with players and managers when a player's been paid a certain amount for so long and they just think that's market value. But I think they're in for a bit of a rude shock, aren't they? But then again, we're going to 18 teams and then 19 teams.
Still don't think a club's going to command. He's going to command $1 million. I just don't see.
He's a back rower. That's the catch, right? That position is so beholden to how your halves provide you the footy.
Yeah.
It's not like a Jason Taumalolo situation where he's carting that footy.
Look at Tino.
What
value they get out of Tino? Tino's worth $1 million. Of
course he is.
Right? You know, but you know you've got the same team, same sort of money, same at the same club, mate. You're giving Tino that money every day of the week. Fifita, not for me.
Teams on the back foot. Canterbury last weekend against the Broncos. That pack, they were just. They couldn't get a foothold in there. Titans, are they up against it now? Because this Bulldog side would be smarting if you know Cameron Serrato and what he'd be putting his troops through after that week.
Yeah, well, the one thing they do get, Mobsy, the Titans, is a couple out from the Dogs with Satili Tupanua and Josh Curran suspended, so too Matt Burton. So there is a little window of opportunity to chip away at maybe some scars at the Bulldogs. But I come back to the consistency of this Dogs team. There's always going to be an outlier in your season, and maybe that one was against a red-hot Broncos side. They blew them off the park in the first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I do like the response of the Dogs.
Was good.
Second half, it showed everything that we've seen of them. They've got a lot of character and spirit within that team. So I certainly expect a response from the Dogs.
For sure. For mine, the Dogs probably aren't as good as first place on the ladder, but definitely not as bad as what they produced last week. They'll sit somewhere in between.
Righto, enjoy your Magic Round footy and we'll see you next week.
And the election.